Hey everybody, Bobby Medina here with my very dear friend and cohort, the great Paul Barron.
Hi.
And today we have a very fun, interesting interview with a fantastic trumpet player. He's an LA freelancer. He's been up there for 20 plus years now. He holds positions in the Santa Barbara Symphony and the opera there. He's a studio musician in Southern California. He's also the trumpet professor at Pepperdine and at UC Santa Barbara. He is a Yamaha performing artist and an endorser of GR mouthpieces. And he is recently the proud father of a brand new baby boy. Welcome, Dusty McKinney, here with us today. So good to have
Hey,
you here. Thanks for being here and spending a little time with us.
thank you so much, guys, for having me. Really appreciate it.
And congratulations on your new one from me as well. Hey, so Dusty, I have the first question. How did you get into playing trumpet? And can you tell us a little bit about how that's led you to your new project, and then explain that to us as well?
Absolutely. I grew up in a musical family. I started playing the trumpet at age 6 and it was either trumpet or trombone, but a 6-year-old can carry a trumpet case a lot easier than a trombone case. So much to my dad's disappointment, I chose the trumpet instead of trombone with him. So played through all school. I grew up in Iowa, played at church, through school, big bands, everything, you name it, growing up, any chance I could get to play. And so I ended up moving to Chicago for school. I attended DePaul University. I lived there for a few years and had a great education there. I got a chance to. I was primarily a jazz player actually in Iowa growing up. That's all I wanted to do. And then I moved to Chicago, and I started going to hear the Chicago Symphony. And I heard I was there during Herset's last 2 years, playing principal with the symphony, and that I just, that was it. That just changed my life. Going to hear, Herset at 80 years old, playing Ein Heldenleben and Alpine Symphony and Mahler Six, sounded like Schulte recordings from the 70s. It was just amazing. And so, that was great. And so I ended up moving to LA a few years later, and I started hearing the jazz players out here, and I thought, oh, nobody needs to hear me play jazz anymore. So that was it. But I love playing in big bands. I love just playing everything I possibly can with trumpet on it. So that's sort of what got me started, got me to LA, and I've just been fortunate to play a lot of different places and play with some amazing musicians along the way.
Very cool. Well, tell us a little bit about your new site. It's called An Observant Musician, and tell us a little bit about it and why you started it.
Well, this is sort of my, answer for a book or a textbook or anything like that. I've been working on these exercises, just my own experiences. How do I get through the day? How do I play? How do I do different things? And how do I communicate that to my students in all sorts of different possible ways? We all learn differently. And so, Observant Musician is sort of 20 years of my experience and my work sort of put together in a website. And I never thought this would be able to happen, but of course COVID happened, and I had a little bit more time on my hands, and so it was a chance to. It's like, whoa, I can actually sort of get some of these ideas in my head and get them to hopefully the right medium. I think it is. So
And how's the turnout been for your courses?
it's been good. It's been good. Yeah, we've the idea is to think positively when you play, and there's a lot of different ways to play the trumpet, as we know, but one of the most important things is we want to have a real positive attitude about it. And we can get hung up on our own practicing, and have a bad day here and there, and all of a sudden that spirals into maybe some unhealthy thoughts about ourselves and our playing and everything. So the attitude with this site is, hey, we're all here together, we're all learning together, and let's help each other out. So I've got
It,
practice tracks that people can play along with. I've got duets that I've recorded. That was something I've been doing over the years with students. Is I'll record a duet, and then they record the other part, or I'll record both parts. They can play along with it, and choose whatever part they want to play along with. So I've put about 25 or so different duets from Arbans, Rubank, and even a few Vizzuti and Michael Sachs duets on there
wow,
too.
that's a lot of work. That's really cool. We got to sit in on one of your centering sessions a few Saturdays ago, and that was really interesting and enlightening. Hearing you talk and go through things with everybody. And I know you have some other kinds of master classes. People talking. I know you had John Lewis on there talking about some things, and I'll tell you some of the things that one of the things I really love about it. I'm really into the mental aspect of playing. Paul and I both have a martial arts background, and
I do
I'm
too.
not sure if you do or not,
I
but
do, yeah.
but so that really plays into your trumpet playing a lot when you start to. There's a lot of similarities in it, but I enjoy some of the recorded vignettes that you have on there where you're talking about these different aspects. And I'm just wondering, can you explain maybe for our listeners here one of the a little bit about the mental aspect of playing that you cover?
Absolutely. I mean, that's something that's so important to our playing. If you don't have your focus and you don't have your breathing, whether it's in your practicing or performance, it's going to be tough, to be consistent. And consistency for me is really sort of the name of the game. I need to be able to play at my highest level every day when I show up to work. So consistency is really important. So I've realized over the years that sometimes practice sessions need to just be focused on one thing. I can get, you can. It's great to have 3-hour chunks where I can play through a whole bunch of things and all that. But say I only have 20 minutes or so to do some work. Well, I find it really helpful to just focus on one thing for that 20 minutes. Maybe it's the breathing. Maybe it's my posture. Maybe I've been really tired or I've been driving a lot or something, and I just need to kind of focus on the posture for a little bit, or just kind of make sure that my attacks are right where they should be. So I've got these awareness tracks that they're playing some music behind it, and it's just sort of a pre-practice session, almost a guided meditation. But I don't want to say it's a guided meditation, but it's like that sort of idea where it just sort of gets you prepared and gets your head in the right place to get your practice session going, and hopefully it gives you some prompts, some ideas about, okay, hey, maybe today I'm just going to concentrate on my breathing when I practice. And I find that focusing in on that, it really takes care of a lot of the other stuff. So.
And it makes that 20-minute increment of time a lot more fruitful, I guess, with what you're able to accomplish.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's amazing how much you can accomplish in a short period of time if you're focused, and that's sort of that key word that you said. And that's something for me, I got a little, sign sometimes on my stand that just reminds me about focus and concentration. I'll turn my phone off, or I'll put it in another room, and no TV and no computer or this and that, so there's a lot of people that are constantly distracted, and it just, for me, it just doesn't help my playing. It's almost like wasting time. I mean, I can do certain rote things, in that manner, but if I can really, really focus, I really get a lot more in a lot quicker period of time.
Absolutely. That's something that I've been talking a lot with my students. They're in college, they're on Zoom right now, and they'll go from one class to another, and a lot of them aren't having ensembles or any sort of playing thing, so it's just private lessons. And I say, you don't need even an hour. You don't need 2 or 3 hours to practice. There's going to be some weeks where you have midterms and all of that. And I'm talking non-majors. If you're a major, well, you better get going. But
Yeah.
but if you're a non-major and playing the trumpet for enjoyment, then you don't need all this time. You can take 10 minutes. You can buzz your mouthpiece with some tracks. You can concentrate on your breathing and your core while you're listening to a lecture. Sometimes too. I mean, there's a lot of little things that you can do, and if you're focusing on that and you make those into habits, it's going to turn around to be good things when you're actually picking up the trumpet. That was something very important for me in my audition for the Santa Barbara Symphony. I actually made practice tracks of the excerpts. I just gotten this job at Disneyland playing in the band there, and so I was playing a lot. I mean, this is back in 2013, I think, and so you're playing all day, marching around in the sun and all this, and so it's like to turn around and practice for an orchestra audition. That's like, oh, that's pretty tiring, right? So I made these practice tracks where it would play the excerpt with click and a piano, and I would just buzz it very softly, very carefully, making sure everything was connected, just making sure everything felt right. And so when that was feeling good, I knew that when I would pick up the trumpet, it would be there. And so that really helped me, prepare for that audition.
And did you slow it down to like a Tai Chi sort of speed, or did you?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Never up to tempo. Never
Okay.
up to tempo. Yeah.
I was wondering, with the mouthpiece thing, if you were able to keep it up to tempo.
No, it's always. I would say if there was an excerpt at 88 or something, I would have it at 60, 64, 66, 68, 70, all the way up by increments. And some days I would need all of those steps in order to get up to tempo. Other days I would start at the slowest, and I'd be able to skip 4 or 8 clicks in order to do that. But yeah, that was. I like slow, softer playing on the mouthpiece, just so I'm accurate with the intervals and connecting through with the air. I know that's what I need when I'm doing it.
Who have some of your teachers been?
I studied in high school. I studied with a guy named Steve Jones, who was he was a lead player with the Army Blues, and he's a wonderful guy. Amazing player. When I went to college, I studied with Matt Lee and John Hagstrom at DePaul, and when I moved to LA, I had a family connection with Bill Bing, and so Bill was really the reason I moved to LA, and so he told me. I took a few lessons from him, and he told me I needed to buy golf clubs. So that was very
that
was
sounds
very helpful.
like Bill.
Yeah.
He was my teacher for a while in college, and just a wonderful guy, and a member here in our group as well, and still playing and doing great.
Absolutely, yeah. And then I also studied with John Lewis. I remember meeting him on a job and just being blown away by how he plays, and I thought, okay, I got to hear what you have to say about the trumpet. And so that really started a relationship, a friendship. He's really a mentor to me, and that continues to this day. And so playing in the Santa Barbara Symphony, second trumpet next to him as a principal is really a pleasure. Anytime you get to sit next to your mentor, that's pretty
so
special.
when you were you're at this high level of playing already, and I'm the same. I mean, Paul and I are always talking about how we're always picking people's brain that we sit next to. I don't take lessons all the time anymore, but one of my mentors is Bobby Shu. And so once in a while I'll talk to him or we'll just chat, and he's always got something to say, or I'll always have a question, or once in a while maybe I'll even have a lesson with him, but I'm just curious. So now you're sitting with John Lewis in some sort of a professional situation, and he's sounding great in that. And then when you went to him, what kind of things did he uncover for you?
He just spoke about what was important to him, in his playing, what he listens for in his playing, and that gives you the answers that you need for your playing. I mean, it was, he's like, well, I mean, he studied with of course, Roger Stoner in Kansas, but he also studied with Jimmy Stamp, and those principles, those ideas of centered sound, playing in the center. I mean, that's everything. And then
moving
and
from
then of
note
course,
center to note center. Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. So he would show me what he did, and then I would try to emulate that, and I was like, oh wow, this isn't so good, and so it's like I've got some work to do, and that's what it's been. And so when I work with John now, I'm like, I'll and we're always doing this. We're like, hey, what are you practicing now? What are you doing? What's the next step? He's got these like checks that he'll do. He'll do like bends and different things, and I'm always asking, what are you doing with that now? And so I always get like these little mini lessons like when I work with him. So it's great. And then just hearing him play, that's a lesson right there. There's this ripple effect where, you play with these great players like John, and you play with like Wayne or Barry Perkins. These guys, you just play better like the next week. You don't even have to do anything. It's just like that sound is like stuck in your head. So.
I call that the apprenticeship program, where it's like the old days of trades, where you start off not really knowing that much, but you're next to somebody who mentors you and shows you a little bit, and then as you've mastered that, then you move on to the next. And that was the same for me. Like you said, you started when you were 6, and I did as well, and just holding on for dear life next to somebody like John Lewis, or for me, Arnie Tchaikovsky, or you, Bobby, with Bobby Shu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just want to be around players that I've always just wanted to be around players that play a lot better than me, and I know I'm going to learn something. I just sit there and try to be a sponge.
Yeah, I think it's a great attitude, and you can't help. You're right. When you hear how high the bar is, sometimes it can be inspiring. It can be depressing. Sometimes, you're talking about the mental aspect of playing, and I'm long over this now, but there are times in my past, and I'm sure everybody's past, when you play and you just cannot get it together here, and it just bums your whole day out. Everything, trumpet grows on you like nothing else almost. But I have learned to really separate myself from what I do, as you grow up. So,
absolutely. And we're humans, right?
Right, absolutely.
We're not perfect.
It's metal against flesh, and everybody's had their moments,
Absolutely.
I saw you were talking about Herseth a while ago, and he gave a master class. Oh my gosh, I don't know how long ago, maybe 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. And I saw it. He was already in his latter years, but man, he did sound amazing, and he talked a lot about sound, and, I remember him doing a big interval from high to low, and it wasn't connected from note center. It wasn't it was there was a little bit of this sort of a downward motion to it. And he says, if a violinist can do that, why can't we do that?
Yeah.
That's a great observation, especially after you've been playing 2 or 3 hours.
He's somebody that when you hear how he played, there was just so much color and so much information to what he did. Oop, frozen a little bit here. We okay?
Yep.
Yeah, you're
okay,
still frozen on my end.
I'm still frozen, huh?
Yeah.
Cut. Uh-oh.
Let me.
I mean, it's your good side, so that's fine.
Okay, now I think we're unfrozen. So finish up your thought there on Herseth.
Well, Herseth was so wonderful at matching sound, right, and emulating other instruments in the orchestra, and that was something I learned from John, who sat next to him in the symphony, where it was all about matching the color with the bassoon, or just depending on who you were playing with. It was really playing in the orchestra was really just like chamber music. It just changed who you were playing with from phrase to phrase. And Herseth was such a master at that. But also just the idea of just laying it down like a lead player. It was really something to hear him play. So.
I read a story one time about him, and I don't know who was conducting, but he had a high D or something he had to play. And the conductor stopped and he said, "Can you play that again for me?" Beep, picked it off. He said, "Try that again." Beep. He did it like 4 or 5 times, and Bud finally put his trumpet down and said, "What is the purpose of this?" He says, "Oh, I'm just waiting until you miss it once." He said, "It's not going to happen today." And everybody shuffled their feet and clapped, and so I always thought that was a cool story.
It says so much about his confidence, and that he played from a concept. I think that's something with great players. They have this concept of how they want it to be, and it's all here. They've worked it out here. They know what they want it to sound like, and then they practice getting physically things happening to match what's going on in your head. And anytime we've played our best, I feel like that's what's happening, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm playing this exactly the way I hear it, and that's when it's really fun. And so that's what we practice all this stuff for, right?
I heard another story, not to continue with Herseth for the whole session, but I think it was
Please.
Brandenburg too, and he was out on stage before the concert warming up, and it just wasn't happening. It was just clam city, and he just calmly, according to the story, calmly put his horn down on the stand, walked off, grabbed a coffee, and there he is, next to Chickowitz and having his coffee. And Chickowitz goes, what was going on out there? Aren't you concerned? He goes, "No, I know how it's supposed to go. It'll be fine when we get there." And sure enough, when he got to that part in the concert, he nailed it, of course, because as you said, it was all in here, and he was just replaying what he'd already successfully done probably many times throughout his career.
That's it. That's the perfect example.
So if you were to pinpoint, Dusty, one moment, one like aha moment, or with a teacher or something that was the biggest spark or the biggest change to your playing, who would that be? Or is that an unfair question?
No, I don't know if I've really had aha moments. I feel like things just progress. I don't, and maybe that's from where my head has been at, but I don't feel like I just jump. And everything has just felt very, very incremental. And really, if I go by that, it's my career and my playing and where I want it to be. I just have to stay patient, right? It's always staying patient with working on things, and it's like, oh man, I'd love it to be here, and I'd love to love for it to sound like this, and you just keep working at it. So it's really been a part of process, right? Those aha moments, I guess, are at concerts where I've been sticking to the process, and things are working like that process, and it's like that process is paying off. Okay, great. So stick to it. that's been really what it is. It's just stay the course through all this.
I think for us as musicians, it's you got to be in it for the long haul. There's no, no trick, no something that's going to get you from point A to point B overnight. But I have had some interesting oh shit moments, as Bobby Shue calls them, and one of the things that I've noticed that's happened to me is I may be taught, we'll say, a concept or maybe a particular technique or something, and I will just kind of be scratching my head. I just don't understand it until it may be, who knows, 6 months, a couple of years later, and then something will click and I'll go, God, now I know what he was talking about, and now I get it and I see how that works, and it's typically for me just some minor teeny weeny little tweak, but God, it makes so much of a difference in your playing, just
Absolutely.
like you were talking earlier about, little things that creep in. One of them for me is totally related to what you said, posture. We sit a lot, we drive a lot, whatever, we're watching TV or whatever the case may be. And you really got to have this mental picture of yourself and, how you should be. Just like Herseth had this picture of when he got to this spot, and you see it in a positive limelight, not as a negative. If you see yourself crashing and burning, you're going to crash and burn,
Well, and sometimes these concepts you're right, they take years to click in. I don't think anything I learned in college actually clicked in until much later after college. I think the nicest compliment I got from my teacher, who was a wonderful person and very kind to me, was, well, I think there was some maybe flashes of greatness in there. That's it. It was just, it was not great. And so, I was very diligent. I was a hard worker. Whatever you told me, I would do it and I would work on it. But sometimes you're just not ready to hear stuff, right? And so being in that place when you are ready. And so I felt like I needed 6, 7, 8 years to really process and let what I learned from the guys in Chicago, work its way into my playing and continue. And maybe I'm just a slow learner. I don't know, but that's fine. I mean, it's like I said, it's given me comfort to know that it's really the process, that this is not a sprint, but a marathon, and
Absolutely.
I remember one of the guys at Disney told me that when I started working there. He said, yeah, just remember, this is a sprint, not a marathon, or a marathon, not a sprint. Excuse me. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, this makes a lot of sense now, and that helps.
And I think those lessons learned over a longer period of time get more solidified and become more a part of our fabric anyway,
Yeah.
so that we really own them. It's not just a flash in the pan, aha, and then, oh, what was that again? Because we probably all had, I know I have, moments where I go, wow, I couldn't do anything wrong. I mean, everything was just all lined up, working great. I'm going to do that again tomorrow. And then, of course, nothing happens. None of it works.
Yes. Yeah, striving for that consistency that's why I think a concept works better than necessarily a feeling sometimes. In our playing, because some days we feel different. I mean, I went through years of working with the Disney band where I never felt good at all, but the audience didn't care. I had to, you had to produce, and or if you're playing somewhere during the day and you play somewhere at night, it's like, well, your audience doesn't care whether or not you're tired or anything like that. So it wasn't about how I felt. It was about obviously trying to maintain some of that and do things that would help me feel better. But it was also about just, what is the concept? What do I want this to sound like? And stay aligned with that idea. And so it's this, keeping everything the same, yet being slightly flexible too when things aren't, you're not having the day that you hoped you would.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's move over into our lightning round. This is just a quick round where we're just going to ask you a few random questions and just respond. However, there's no right answer, no wrong answer. I will start this, and I will ask you, what is your favorite restaurant in Los Angeles?
My favorite restaurant. There's a ramen place called Shinsengumi that is amazing. I love ramen.
I do too. Awesome.
Love
Morning
soup.
person or night person?
Well, with a newborn son, it's I would say no. I'm a morning person. I love getting up early and so absolutely,
You're a morning, noon, and night person now.
pretty much, yeah.
What
Coffee
was the
person.
last recording you listened to?
Um, I've been listening to some quintet um, recently, and so there's a nice album. I don't know what it's called by the Center City Brass. They did the Morley Calvert and like Ludwig Marr quintets in there. Really nice pieces. It's just nice to hear quintet. I like quintet a lot.
Where are they based? I'm not familiar with them.
I think they're East Coast. Yeah, yeah. They've done. I want to say they're like Curtis guys. I'm not sure, but I remember hearing some of their Ewald recordings, and I've just kind of kept their stuff in my library over the years. Really enjoy the way they play together.
There are
Really
so
beautiful.
many fantastic musicians and groups all over the world, and now you have everything at the touch of a button, next to you to be able to see it or listen to it or enjoy it in some form. It's cool, and at the other time, on the other hand, it's kind of like overwhelm. Also, it's trying to balance all that out. But I really enjoy seeing people that I've never even heard of that just like completely blow me away. So well,
Absolutely.
thank you for taking the time, Dusty, for being here with us. It's been a great chat with you. I've learned a lot here. And for everybody out there, Dusty has extended a really nice offer to you just for our group here. If you're interested in checking out his centering class anytime in October, he will send you a special Zoom link to do that. So you could do that at no cost just for this month. And I will post up some information about that. He's a member of our group too. So you can contact him through there and just let him know that you'd love to check out his observant musician program. And it's an observantmusician.com. Is that right, Dusty?
That's right.
Okay, well, we're going to sign off here, but thank you again. Thank you, Paul, for being here. We really appreciate you guys, and we'll look forward to seeing you again real soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Dusty.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.